And are we? Yeah. And good afternoon, Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you, Gary. That was a nice little bit of intro there. How are you this afternoon?
I'm all right. Excellent.
All right.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Well, it's good to be here once again, Trinidad and Tobago. I just came from ARIMA, where the Trinidad and Tobago Trade Union Federations, JTUM, NATOC, FITON, began the mobilization for August 8th, for the August 8th action, which will be Labor Day in Port of Spain. And that would have been led by, of course, President General of the OWTO and President of JTUM, as well as the President of NATOC, James Lambert. They were there. A lot of the trade union leaders were out in their numbers, giving out flyers, talking to the people of ARIMA. And I must say that great response, Gary. Great response. People really feeling hurt.
People came out.
People feeling hurt. So we expect a really fantastic a march on August 4th. And I think that once people feel a sense that, listen, we have to change governance in this country. We can't continue like a windshield wiper, left, right, left, right, left, right. At some point, somebody have to shake up the place so that those in authority will know that, listen, you are accountable to the people who give you a mandate. You don't, in other words, it's not just you take my vote and then you go and do what you want at the expense of the majority of citizens, whilst a few continue to take or laugh all the way to the bank. But here's what, it's not just Trinidad and Tobago, Gary. We see in Barbados, the workers and the trade unions taking a stand for Barbados. I don't know that they have a radio program called Take a Stand for Barbados, but I'm happy that we can speak to that issue here on this program, because one of the things that we want to highlight is the question of solidarity. That's a very important S word, solidarity, as well as showing that the kind of policies that affect workers in Trinidad and Tobago are policies that are also affecting workers throughout the Caribbean. So I think we are fortunate. We do have the executive treasurer of the National Union of Public Workers, or the Public Workers Union from Barbados, Asokore. Comrade Asokore, are you on the line?
I am. How are you doing?
Hey, good afternoon, man.
Good afternoon.
And comrade, right, and welcome to I-95, Take a Stand for TNT. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me as well.
All right. Now, we know that there's a lot of mobilization taking place in Barbados for particular action. Can you just tell the people of Trinidad and Tobago what are the workers and the trade unions going to be doing tomorrow?
Well, tomorrow we're going to have a march from one of our centers in Barbados to the Parliament building. After the budget, we were very unhappy with the measures proposed by the current government, the Minister of Finance. We met with him before the budget, would have expressed our list of needs for the workers in the country, one of which was a salary increase, because the workers have not received a salary increase since 2009. But you've had inflation and cost of living increase to over 35% since then. And we asked him to assist the workers in that venture. He denied that in the budget, but then he went further. We asked him not to impose any new taxes, which would create a further burden on the workers. He did the opposite. He did, I would think, one of the biggest jumps in a tax ever. He increased all the tax on all imported goods from 2% to 10%. That is a 400% increase at one time. Then he increased the price on all fuel goods, a tax, from, I think it was 74 cents to 99 cents. So the price of fuel as well increased about 40% because of that tax. And we met with the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance 2 weeks ago Friday, and we said to both of them that on top of not giving workers a salary increase since 2009, you now seem to want to impose further austerity measures on them, further hardship. You've got mothers out there crying, that working every day and saying that their salaries are no longer enough to support their family and their needs.
Yeah.
And now you impose more taxes. How are the workers, how are they going to live? Is what we pushed across to him and the Minister of Finance, and they did not move. They were unmovable, it seems. They have since come out and said some very strong statements against the workers. Statements like, tomorrow when we march, all we'll be doing is losing weight. And we found that very disrespectful. So
yeah.
I think it is time our unions in Barbados, we decided that we will come together.
Okay.
The Barbados Workers Union, the National Union of Public Workers, which I'm a part of, the Secondary Teachers Union and the Overall Teachers Union have all come together, and we're saying we're being united in this fight against these further austerity measures.
But it sounds as though that the government is simply going down the road of austerity, that they could not have come up with anything that would have been more innovative in terms of addressing the economic situation. So is it that they seemed just hard, they're taking a hardline position that is only austerity?
The problem I would like to say with governments in the Caribbean region, including Trinidad, when you look at this old playbook, I think they forget that these old tactics cannot work. This is a new time. I'm an economist myself, right?
Yes.
And I can tell you, without a shadow of a doubt, austerity measures are not going to work in the Caribbean. You have to have wage-led growth. We are consuming economies that thrive on consumption. If you tax, what will happen? You will contract an economy. If you contract an economy, the same business community who wants everybody to spend more, they're going to have to lay off workers. So it's just not in the public sector that workers will get laid off, it's in the private sector. And that is just a sticker. Because who's going to then pay the bills? You can have more people using up social goods, you can got more people on welfare. So there's no real purpose, no real use for austerity measures. But you know what? That is all they know. It does not seem that they have any other ideas. But our union had proposed, like, I think 6 or 7 ideas to the government. One of the ideas we said, the number one import in Barbados is fuel. If we have so much import of fuel, we need to reduce that import. We have Trinidad and Barbados, we have a lot of beautiful sun. Why are we not utilizing that sun? Why are we not having our own citizens creating photovoltaic panels, creating an industry that would also export to the region and export to South America, utilizing solar energy, reducing our need for other countries' fuel? I mean, there are ways in which, I mean, for Trinidad it might be slightly different, but there are ways in which you can ease the consumer, you can ease individuals and workers and allow them to spend more. Because if you can save more in your pocket when your month comes, I'm sure you will spend a little more on your kids or on your family, on your father. Yes. That's how the economy works. I don't think that the current crop of politicians that we have understand that this is the system that we have. Yeah. Well, this is how it works.
Yeah.
Right? In some prehistoric time.
Yeah. Well, you raised 2 interesting points. One is that, well, the fact that the trade unions offer an alternative. Because in Trinidad and Tobago, for example, the trade unions also offered something called Labor's Economic Alternative Plan, which was an idea that would work as an alternative to austerity. So the first thing is that as a union body in Barbados, you offer the government an alternative. The second interesting aspect, and I'd like for you to say a little bit more about that, which is, listen, rather than cut our way out of the crisis, you all are also proposing that we grow our way out of the crisis. We grow the economy. Yeah.
I mean, you will generate more revenue. I do not understand the logic at all. As an economist, it does not make logical sense. You contract. Look at the American economy. They had a recession in 2007, 2008. Obama came in 2008. What was one of his main things that he did? He stimulated the manufacturing sector. He allowed cars to have, you return your cars if it was older than 10 or 15 years. And so though you had incentives to buy new vehicles because they had a big vehicle industry. happy citizens and workers. But the two cannot go. They cannot go separate. We had a survey done by a university entity, I think, a week ago. It was completed. The results came out today. The results have shown that because of the increased taxation and austerity measures, productivity has now been hindered. What productivity means for a government is that workers are producing less. What it means for the economy is that at the end of the day, the amount of money that you could be producing, the amount of money you could be collecting, you will not be collecting because people are dissatisfied, they are unhappy. So if you have unhappy workers, you will not be producing. I think people do not understand you need to have a happy worker, a satisfied worker, and in so doing, you will have a happy and productive environment, be it working or otherwise.
Yeah.
We have a crime, the crime, I'm not saying Barbados crime is out of hand, but we've had increased crime because of it in Barbados, more violent crime. Every day now we're hearing about some violence that is happening. I'm sure we have similar situations in Trinidad.
Oh, well, you can't even imagine the crime situation in Trinidad.
Because when you have families are hardship for money, you have people having to do what they think they need to do to make money. And as unions, we try to find ways to employ workers because once you are making a dollar, once you're able to support your family, you're not going to go there and get in trouble. You're not going to commit crimes or do violent acts because you're making enough to survive and, you can drink a beer or you can, buy a beverage, eat some food. If you can't do that, then God help us all.
Let me ask you, what, because as unions here in Trinidad and Tobago mobilize in terms of taking certain course of mass actions in the interest of not just the members, but workers in general, what do you say in terms of Barbados, persons who have this argument that, well, because the economic situation is difficult, really the only people who should sacrifice are workers. In other words, that it's okay to retrench, it's okay to cut salaries, it's okay to raise taxes, it's okay to impose austerity. What do you say to those persons?
I say ignorance. I say that is total ignorance. It is not the workers' fault that there was bad management. So why must the workers be the first all the time to bear the brunt? So in Barbados, the workers were asked to hold strain, hold a wage freeze for a year or two. We've held a wage freeze for, 8 years now? At the end of the day, if you look at it, workers are the ones that profit is made, that revenue is generated from. So at the end of the day, if you expect the workers to bear that brunt, you are going to hurt yourself as a country, as an economy. If it is that you are making no less revenue or not significantly less revenue than you did years ago, then your country should be no worse off. You know what the problem will be? The problem will have to be bad management. It will have to be bad management, but not by the unions, but by the government. By the government at the time. At the end of the day, it is managing your money. If you have, it's like a household. Let's bring it down to simple. If you have a household and you are making $100, you will divide that money according to your priorities.
Yeah.
You're not going to tell your daughter, I must put you out because I can't afford to support you anymore. No. What you will do now, you might decide not to buy 2 chickens anymore. You might buy some sardines instead. But the problem is you have governments that don't want to cut where they can cut because you know why? They will have let's not use those terms here, but they have other forces sometimes that make them make decisions which are not in best interest of workers
or the country
for themselves. And in so doing, they create the difficulty that make them later on have to lay off workers. Workers did not put themselves in that position. If the economy is still making money, then why is it you must first lay off workers? Why don't you cut some of that spending, that discretionary spending otherwise? Why must you be building the next biggest tower? Why must you be building the next biggest stadium? You know, those things aren't necessary as times are hard. You know, you need more schools. You need another. If you don't have enough hospitals in Barbados, you build another hospital. Capital projects that will stimulate growth and jobs. You don't try to lay off workers. Because you're going to spend $100 million on a building when all you need is that same $100 million will support, 30,000 families? Come on, that's an easy decision, but it doesn't seem to be an easy decision for the managers and the politicians out there. I think it's heartless and inconsiderate.
So tell me something. In terms of the action tomorrow, what do you, because it sounds as though based on what has happened in Barbados over the last few years, it has reached a tipping point where the workers as well as the unions are saying, listen, we're going to take a stand now because this nonsense cannot continue. It's unfair, it's unjust, it's not equitable. But in terms of going forward, what do you see or how do you all see that unfolding in the coming months?
So tomorrow, I would say it is one of our last efforts. Because as a union, we try to be reasonable to the government as well as reasonable to the people. Because we know that when we take action, it will affect the overall people of Barbados. But we need to remember that taxes are not just imposed on public workers, but they're imposed on all workers. So sometimes the unions look at the betterment of all workers, even though they might not be looking at it themselves. But you have a situation, as you said, in Barbados now, where every worker, as well as the unions, have now said that enough is enough. We will tomorrow walk to Parliament and give a letter to the Prime Minister, the leader of the opposition, and the single independent person in Parliament, letting them know our displeasure. And we will say to them one more time, repeal or significantly reduce these new austerity measures, or the union will have no choice but to defend the rights of all workers in this country. Going forward, I see the unions having, without giving our plan, the unions having to ramp up action, and it will be tighter on Barbados economy in the short term. We will have to take some measures that some might feel are a little uncomfortable, and might, at some point people will be crying out. Travelers in and out of the country might have some level of difficulty and discomfort, but we want to say to them, this is an effort to benefit Barbados and the Caribbean countries, because we know our sister unions in Trinidad have assisted us and lended us their support and said to us recently, if we need them, they are there for us, and we do the same. So we thank you guys for your support.
Yes.
But I think going forward, if they do not listen to us, without giving away what we will do, Barbados will be under some union restrictions. Let me say that.
I think yes. Well, I know how it is, and we want to leave it right there where it is. But let me just say to you, Comrade Asokore Beckles, on behalf of this program, Take a Stand for TNT, and on behalf of the Joint Trade Union Movement in Trinidad and Tobago, you have our fullest solidarity and support. And I think, almost going back to the days when unions and workers across the Caribbean was saying, not just our individual governments, but saying to the Caribbean governments that the working class will not be the only ones to take the full burden of adjustment. It is unfair and unjust. And like the 1930s, we will stamp our place in history.
And we need, as a united trade movement across the Caribbean region, to say enough is enough, and this is not the way to go forward. You must have wage-led growth, and even the Caribbean Employers Confederation, at a meeting I went with them late last year, they also agreed that wage-led growth is the way going forward, and not the current way which governments are seeing to want to generate revenue. And what I would like to say is that if you guys in Trinidad need me or any of my compatriots, my comrades in any of our unions, please do not hesitate, because we are one trade union movement across the Caribbean and one people. So at any time, please do not hesitate to welcome us and ask us for assistance.
All right.
Thank you for inviting me to this program today.
Yes.
And God bless.
Thank you, and long live the Caribbean working class. So that was Comrade Asokore Beckles. He is the Executive Treasurer of the National Union of Public Workers in Barbados, one of the unions that will be taking action tomorrow. And he's also, let me just add, he's also the Assistant General Secretary of the Caribbean Congress of Labour. And so you see, Gary, the policy of austerity is across the region. It is using age-old policies, age-old models, impose it on the country, and guess who are the ones who pay the old? This is the part that is absolutely incredible, Gary. This is what is remarkable, that the only people who must pay the price, the only people who must carry that burden, Gary, are ordinary working people. Ordinary working people. And this is why we have to take a stand. And I was listening to your Inside News episode earlier on my way. And, I hear the callers, and of course I respect everyone's opinion. But it tells me, Gary, why systems like colonialism and so on existed for so long. Because we turn on ourselves, we turn on ourselves. So that you have the unions who say, listen, wait, hang on, hold on a second, let's mash some brakes. Is it that workers are the only one bearing the burden of adjustment? Why should that be? Shouldn't we all share the burden of adjustment? And if it is that you're seeing workers being the only ones who paying the price, and you take a stand and you stand up or you speak out, you're vilified. You're vilified. But guess who escapes? Who escapes are the elites, the ones on top, the ones who laughing all the way to the bank, the ones who continue to declare hundreds and tens of millions of dollars in profit. And we spend time fighting against ourselves as they just continue to maximize profit off of the burden of ordinary working people. And this is not just in Trinidad and Tobago, as you would have heard from the comrade in Barbados. It's across the Caribbean. In other words, the region itself, having gone through the barbarism of slavery and colonialism, that we find even now as we have independent states, that the governments of these independent states are still carrying forward, this is the key, carrying forward policies that goes against the interest of ordinary working people in order to facilitate or in order to benefit the elites, to benefit a small group. Now, what does that remind you of? What does that remind us of when you think of how society is structured? All right. And so this morning, we would have started with the mobilization for August 4th. And it was indeed a tremendous success. And the response was powerful. And we will be continuing. The next stop will be in Chaguanas. But as I end my program here, because news update is here and as always watching me with a very stern face. So I would like to say to Trinidad and Tobago, sometimes you have to take unpopular stands in order to bring about truth and justice. Not everybody will agree, but at least we know that we're taking a stand that is just, that is right, that is fair, and it is, of course, in the interest of all of Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you, and to the brothers and sisters and comrades who may be listening in Barbados, solidarity to you, and I hope we all have a very good afternoon until our next segment next week Monday at 1:35. This is Ozzi Warwick saying, take a stand for Trinidad and Tobago.